Hey, what's up everyone? In today's video we'll be looking at the Mottura Champions C55. This lock is actually a successor to the Mottura Champions C43/48/49 series and introduces a little bit different design, but in picking resistance I think this lock is a little bit easier than the aforementioned logs, but still it's a nice challenge anyway. So let's take a look what's inside. Looking at the key, we can see that there's quite a bit going on right away. So obviously we have some bitting for the top pins, so we have 5 pins on the top, but there is actually one more, and this is this little wheel. This is the interactive element that gets pushed up by a piece of wording in the keyway and creates an overlift. You can see that it goes way higher above the level of the key itself, and this actually acts like a 6th pin that is a bit off axis. If you remember the Mottura Champions C43, probably you can tell that there were special secondary locking mechanisms, or there were rotors. There were 4 of rotating pieces that interacted with a sidebar, and we can find these rotors here as well, but in this lock we only have 3. In the C43 there were 4. Instead we have only 3 rotors here that have a little bit of different design. I will talk about it a bit later. And one of the rotors was actually replaced with this passive pin. This is actually a minus sign because Mottura uses these mathematical signs. Some of them have like this plus or X sign for multiply, but this one has minus. But in terms of picking, this is a passive pin, right? So there's one less rotor to worry about. And on the side we have some side pins. Overall the key is pretty massive, actually quite nice to hold. Okay, so take a look at the wording, at the housing. So we have 3 slots for the sidebar on these sides, so the lock would relock after rotating it 90 degrees. And that's pretty much all that's interesting here. I think this is some anti-snap protection, not sure. And some drill protection on top. Let's take a look at the plug because there's quite a lot going on. So first, there's not much wording to speak of, but there is some wording, but the keyway is pretty open, and it has to be open, right? Because there's really a lot of elements, so let's take a look at them. So obviously we have 6 slots for the top pins. You can tell that the 6th one is a bit off center. It's a bit, the chamber is a bit skewed to the side. That's the slot for the interactive pin. And I can actually show it right away. So this is basically the key pin that goes with the interactive element. It looks like this, and it goes right here. Yeah, that's exactly where it doesn't go. It goes here, and it sticks out sort of here. It's not too visible, but that's where it is, and it goes like under an angle, maybe like this, so it's not directly down but under angle. So that's these are the chambers for the pins, for the main pins. We have some slots for the passive pins on this side, so that's not too interesting, but they are there, and they actually can create a bit of confusion as you get some false set because they start sticking out the keyway and suddenly there's less space. And we have of course some slots for the rotors on the bottom of the keyway or on the top of the keyway if you look at it Euro style, and this one is for the passive pin. So hopefully you can tell that this track that is milled for the rotors goes right here, and I will show you the action of these rotors. So, or actually, to be more thorough, I will show the rotor itself first. So each of these rotors has two knobs that interact with the track on the key. You can tell that one of them is a bit shorter and one is taller. And the way that these rotors are aligned in the keyway is that the so I don't want to mess this up, but the taller knob is always the second one. So always this shorter one is closer to you and the taller is further from you. So that's important to know when you start manipulating these rotors. And what's important as well is that on the side these rotors have a false and true gate. You can probably tell it kind of looks like a medical keeping, I would say, in a way. This is true gate in the middle, and now I'm not sure if you can tell, but there's also a false gate right next to it. So these false gates are actually shallow, but these rotors bind towards the end of the peak and they kinda bind pretty hard. So you have to release a lot of tension when setting them. So the way these rotors work is that obviously they are positioned right here. Sorry, not like that. I will just put them there so you can appreciate the action of the key. 1, 2. Now that I look at it, they really look like medicals. And also the top view is similar to medical. And this is the third one. Sorry for taking so long. Okay, that should do it. Okay, so looking from the top, you can tell that the true gate is here on the bottom. That's milled through the whole length of the rotor. And as I insert the key, they are rotating left and right. But more importantly, they are exposing their true and false gates to the slot. And when the key is inserted, the true gates are aligned. And after that, in this milled slot, this sidebar can sink inside. So it goes there like this. Yep. So as soon as the rotors are aligned, this sidebar goes in and the plug can rotate. So a pretty neat mechanism. And worth mentioning is that this slot for the passive pin is here, of course, and it also looks like it has some kind of gate for the sidebar to sink in, but it doesn't need to be manipulated at all. It's just there, and if you don't have a key with this minus sign on it, I think it won't sink deep enough into the plug and it will prevent the rotation. So now you can see that this passive pin is basically inside of the plug and it's not blocking the rotation, so this is the slot for it. And yeah, that's basically how this lock works. So let's talk about how can we pick it. Well, obviously the main pins are not too much of an issue, although I think they are quite big, and you have to be really careful, especially about these torpedo key pins. I didn't talk about the pins actually. There's 3 standards and 3 spools, so nothing too shocking about them. But these torpedoes are actually dangerous because they are not only for show, but they are actually really working. So with low lifts you need to be careful because these torpedoes can be overset pretty easily. So basically this lock isolates pretty well. So first thing, you need to pick the whole main stack. If you have a max lift, that can be difficult, it's quite high. But after that you get a nice full set, and then you will set the interactive. The interactive is actually one of the easier interactives to set. I use this Moki flat top hook to set it, and the big kind of lines up in the keyway, and you can it's actually the whole surface of this interactive keeping is kind of big, so it's not too hard to hit it. And after that you get even a bigger full set, and then it's time to move the rotors. So let's talk about the manipulation of the rotors first. So in the Mottura C43, these rotors only had one knob that you could manipulate. Right, I told you that here they have two. So that's the first difference. That's actually a pretty important difference, because yeah, these rotors are actually opposing each other, or sorry, these knobs. And in the Mottura C43 only had one of these rotors. So that means you couldn't really manipulate it from only one side, or you could, but if you wanted to rotate it back, it was really difficult. So you needed something like a fork pick, right? And for the C43 I used something like this. You can tell that there is like a V-shaped cutout on the tip of this pick. And what I did in the C43 is that I basically, you see, manipulated like this. But here I sort of have had problems in accessing the rotor, because there was a real lot of stuff in the keyway, regardless if I picked it Eurostyle or not Eurostyle. And this passive pin actually was in a way a lot. So I decided that I will only use like a normal hook, because you can actually, thanks to the fact that there are two of these knobs, you can touch either the further one or the closer one, right? And you can rotate this rotor only from one side. So these rotors having two knobs actually works for your advantage, because you can manipulate them from one side. That's kind of the point I'm trying to make here. So that makes it a bit easier, although there's more stuff in the keyway because of the design of these rotors. So that's like a downside, but I only use this Moki Jimmy hook with the flat top that's pretty sturdy, and I just pushed on one side of the rotor, and you can sort of either see or feel or even hear that the rotor is set and it's kind of jiggly. So in a false gate it obviously has some back and forth movement. So that's the way I solved these rotors. So maybe someone can make it work with this fork style pick, but I felt like there's not a lot of space in the keyway. And after that you have the logo open, so as easy as that. Alright guys, so I think that wraps it up. Hopefully I didn't bore you to death, but there's not too much videos for this lock yet. I think there will be more, because one neat member of the LPU, Ed McBain, shoutouts to Ed McBain, who found some of these Motturas and sold them to some community members, including me. So I think there will be more videos soon, because yeah, there are more of these locks on the market now in the LPU community. Anyway guys, so I think it's time to stop talking and get to picking, so let's do that. Alright, here we go. It works. Let's go counterclockwise and start dealing with the top pins first. So click on 2, I think on 3, 5, click there. 1 is binding, click on 1, 2 is good. Almost got 3 set. That's actually a max lift, so don't think I got it. So I just dropped some tension and working on these pins again. 5, click there again. Not sure if I got 3. This is 4 binding. I will click on 4. Okay, maybe now I got 3 set. I'm not sure. Okay, something out of 3 again. Click on 5. That's good. Now I click on 5, okay. Click on 1, that's nice. Count rotation on 4 now. I think I got 4 set. I feel like maybe I should be able to move to the interactive now, so let's try to set it. Okay, first try. Definitely one of the easier interactives to set, and now comes the sliders. That's actually the most difficult part. So I'm on slider 1 now. I know it's not really like binding too much. Actually, so I'll just leave it alone, right? Let's just move to slider 2. A little something there. Slider 3 is up. Click there, maybe a bit of too much of motion. We'll see about that. Okay, slider 1 is jiggling, so I will leave him. And let's try slider 2. Nothing's happening in there. I will leave it. 3 seems to be binding. A light movement there. I'm pretty sure it's moving now. I can see that. So what about 2? It has to be 2, right? Okay, I need to get here. Yep, that's it. Perfect. That went really well with the sliders. It's not always like that. So we got the lock picked, which is really nice. And now let's get it. Okay, so let me just switch the focus. Yep, that's it. And we will adjust the angle a little bit. Like this. It's not great. This is better. And this is easy. Okay, so getting this lock is actually not the easiest task, but it can be done, obviously. Sorry, I still do not like this angle. It's like skewed. I'll try to move maybe this a little. Yeah, there's the... sorry for these shenanigans. It was kind of disturbing, this angle. So, getting this lock, as I said, not easy, but you have to be careful because the plug has a lot of elements in there that can fall out. So first let's remove this circlip. I don't know where are my other gutting wrenches, so I'll just do it with this one, which is already pretty bent. So hopefully I won't get hurt. Yeah, that should do it. Okay. So yeah, now obviously we want the key. And the shim is also a nice thing to have here. Not mandatory, but you know, with locks like this you wanna be careful. And why does it want to go here? Okay. So the plug is a bit larger than your normal diameter, but if you have the Sparrows kit with the four followers, this one fits perfectly. This is the same one that fits as a 700. Okay, so you wanna obviously rotate the plug a little like this, and you want to catch with your thumb. I will catch the rotors that are on the bottom of the plug. With my ring finger, I will catch the sidebar that is positioned on like 5 o'clock if you look at the plug, and with my middle finger I will just catch the key pins, and the drivers should be facing towards the camera. Sorry, not the drivers but the passive pins, so that shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so out we go. Okay, something I felt popping out. I think it was the sidebar. So I will drop the sidebar first. So moving my ring finger. Luckily, both of the springs are present. Okay, so now I can actually start. I think I will start with the key pins. So they tend to go out rather easily. 1, 2, 3. Obviously I will rearrange that later. 4, 5. Come on. Yep, that's it. I actually managed to drop the interactive as well, so we can count that as number 6, because it's basically in 6th position. Alright, now we can actually drop the rotors because they go out easily as well, and this passive pin, can put it here, and oops, rotors 1, oops, 2, and 3, and then we only have the passive pins left, if I'm not mistaken, so I can just dump them here because I don't need to really remember their order, because I can just look at the key. Okay, so 2 are out. Third one, and these are the last 2. So I'll just put them here for the time being. And this one is here. Okay, and that's basically the worst part. Now, obviously, we only have the drivers left, so it should be a piece of cake. So there's 1, there's 2, 3, 4. Okay, this one fell into the follower, doesn't matter. And this one sprung out, but that's the interactive. And this should be 5. Yeah. Hopefully don't get them mixed. And the springs, obviously. So I can just dump them right out. It's not a big deal, and with that we will be wrapping up really soon. As soon as these springs go out. Yep. Nice. So everything is out and nothing is damaged. which is always a pleasure. So let me just give you a close-up on the pins. Hopefully it will focus. And the rotors, and the sidebar, and the plug, and passives, and the other housing, whatever. Okay guys, so hopefully you enjoyed this video on this neat Italian lock. I certainly enjoyed picking it. It was quite a challenge in some ways for me. So I'm pretty happy about this open, and yeah, that should pretty much wrap today's video up. Hopefully we will see each other really soon with the next video. Until then, bye.